synthesizers, groove boxes. Visit Patchwerks in Seattle and online at patchwerks.com.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT from Patchwerks, and welcome to another episode of Patchwerks Live. Today we're coming from my home studio, which is not usually the case for Patchwerks Live, but we've been having crazy bouts of freezing rain here in Seattle, and everything is just covered in a layer of ice. So nobody could make it into the shop today, but I have a whole streaming setup here at the house, so I figured why not just do it from here. Today we're gonna dive into the Elektron Digitakt, which happens to be one of my favorite pieces of gear that I've ever owned. It might be my favorite sampler ever, right up there with the Octatrack. And I absolutely love the Digitakt. It is an expertly crafted synthesizer and sampler, and I know that most folks just think of it as a sampler, but it truly is a synthesizer. It's a fantastic, powerful synthesizer, and I'm going to demonstrate some of the sound patches that I have made that I've synthesized on the Digitakt, and these are melodic patches, not drums. So they're cool. I'm proud of the sound design that I've done with it, and I'll show you some of the parameters that I used and kind of how I achieved these sounds, and then we'll work on some production as well. So as you may know, well actually before I get started, let me tell you exactly what the Digitakt is. So the Digitakt is an 8-track sampler and sample player, and also a synthesizer. It also can work with Overbridge, and it's an audio interface, and can be in a way kind of a dual mono mixer or stereo mixer. And it's super fun and actually really easy to get the hang of. And if you learn the Digitakt, you kind of can learn all of the other Elektron boxes, and you'll know your way around at least the menu systems and kind of how they function. And you'll definitely know the sequencer because it's the same sequencer on every single machine, except for maybe the Syntakt having some interesting new stuff added to it with these modifiers and re-trigger buttons, which is something you don't find on other Elektron boxes. Okay, so I have a fresh project loaded up in here on the Digitakt. Let me just double check and make sure that everybody can hear me all right and that things aren't like too loud or crazy. Yeah, it seems like everything is cool. What's going on, Michael? What's going on, Gigi? What's going on, Brian? Hey, Theramina, what's up? Hey, it's good to see everybody, and thanks for hanging out with us on Patchwerks Live in this home session here. Very cool. Glad to have everybody hanging out. I see we have about 10 viewers in the chat right now. That's fantastic. If you guys would like to like this stream, it's really helpful and it will push it out, and maybe we can get some more viewers in here, and we'll get to have more conversation that way. All right, so here we go. Let's dig into the, what's up, Troy? Good to see you. Let's dig into the Digitakt here. So when you open up a new project in the Digitakt, you're presented with the default sounds on the Digitakt, and while they are good, especially the kick drum, surprisingly fantastic sounding kick drum. I think a lot of people, when they're using the Digitakt and they're like loading up new samples to make a new project, they end up leaving the kick drum as the default kick drum or modifying it slightly using some of the parameters available to you on the Digitakt, which I find just, kind of funny, because I'm also guilty of doing that as well, because the kick drum sounds really good. All the sounds sound great, but I have to say, I am getting sick of the other default sounds when I hear them when I first load a project, because I'm writing so much music in the Digitakt. So the first thing I like to do is immediately go in and start grabbing some new sounds to replace these default sounds. So let's do that. Let's talk about how we do that and the difference between sounds and samples. So the Digitakt uses a concept called sounds, which is just presets. And what these presets are samples, and think of samples as your oscillator. You can see your sample right here if you press source again, and it loads up this menu that allows you to see the waveform so that when you're adjusting start and end points, you can actually see it, which is just way more useful than trying to adjust it like that. That's just a representation of your rotary encoder here. But you can also see right here that you have your sample selection, and you can just grab one of these empty slots and go in. It'll immediately bring you into a menu where you can start digging for samples to replace the sample in your, basically your oscillator section. So it doesn't replace the whole sound. So if I put like a new kick drum, go into the factory here. If I put a new kick drum in, that sounds nice. It's going to just replace the sample slot on 9. So it's not going to like change my amp settings, my LFO settings, and all that. It's just going to replace the actual sample in the slot, which is good to know because there's a bunch of different ways to get samples into your projects on the Digitakt, and there's a bunch of different ways to save sounds and load sounds as well. So let's go ahead and load some sounds and load up some samples in here. And like I said, we are doing it kind of, because of the freezing rain, we're doing this at my house, and I do have a dog, and my dog is having a time right now. So I'm gonna go into the samples menu here. So if you click this gear cog looking icon, you can go into your samples menu, and here we can audition sounds. It lets us know that we have this sample assigned to slot 9, and you have 128 sample slots in your projects. So that's per project. You can put as many songs together as you want, but you're gonna have to start using some creative sound design to stretch the samples that you have in your project. And your sounds is the same idea. So when you load a sound, it's also going to load that sample into your project. So here we could use like this whole electronic drum kit, which is not a bad idea, honestly, because all the sounds work well together. They were designed together to work together. So why not just load the whole kit? You can't load a folder of samples, but what you can do, well, you can actually. So we are inside this folder. If I hit the right arrow, I can do select all, and then I can go down to load projects. So I can load the whole folder in. Sorry, I said that you couldn't. So there I go. I loaded that whole folder of samples in. So now I can go in to these different tracks here and load up these samples just so that we can get started with some good sounds. So we already have the kick drum loaded, I know that. So let's go ahead and grab the snare. Where's that at? Snare drum. Let's grab that tom, even though we may not use all of these samples because I'm probably going to replace them with some sound design stuff. Let's put in, I guess we'll use no, there's a clap right there. There we go. Cowbell we'll replace with a rim shot. And then we'll put a hi-hat in, and hopefully an open hat. Do we have an open hat? Let's see. I guess that would be an open hat. And then a cymbal. I guess not, when it comes to the cymbal. We'll just leave this one blank for now, and we'll load up one of these sound design patches that I made, which are pretty cool. Make sure you can see me all right here. There we go, a little bit brighter. Okay, so here's what we have now on our Digitakt and our project that we made. So if we wanted to, we could put a pattern in really easy just by going record play, and we could turn on our metronome if we want. And I could just, try and play something in. And if it's slightly off in time, I can go into my quantize menu. That's kind of cool sounding. Let's turn off that metronome. So the shortcut to turning the metronome off is function and pattern. So this is just to get us started. That's nice. It's super basic. We just got a couple of sounds that we're using. But I want to talk about some sound design stuff. So as I said, this is a synthesizer, and I can just load in oscillators and then cycle them. So I can load in a single cycle waveform, and that's what we're gonna do. So I can go over to track 8 here, and let's go to a blank spot, hit yes, and we're gonna move up into our toolbox and I'm gonna grab an oscillator. And there are just little pops and clicks right now because we're not cycling these single cycle waveforms yet, so they're not oscillating. Let's check out the Amiga. Look, there's Amigo underneath Amiga. I wonder how that one sounds. All right, so I'm gonna turn the play to forward looping, and now we're gonna have an oscillator. Which I love, and you can already, like right here, you can do some sound design with this. Check out that bit reduction on the Amiga. So that's really loud right there. Let's turn this level down. So that's already one way to get some synthesis going. We haven't even filtered it yet. We could do a little filtering. Turn that bit reduction back down, bring our amp level back in. Let's edit this reverb real quick, make it the decay time like real big, so it's a big old reverb. Change the shelving gain here, maybe a little bit of low pass on it. It's just so we get some nice smooth sounding reverb. And this is what I'm saying. Synthesizer, right? That's a good sounding synth voice. And if we want to, with one of the more recent updates, Elektron added this fantastic new menu for the Digitakt, and the Digatone and the Syntakt. It was already mostly in the Digatone, but they added it to the Digitakt, which just made the Digitakt the best thing ever. So now we can choose a scale. Let's do something a little darker. We'll do a melodic minor. And if we want, we can choose a root note. I'm just gonna leave it in C just for the sake of simplicity for me. But also, so it's gonna be C melodic minor. So not quite the sake of simplicity. It's not like all white keys or anything. But it'll be good for when I load samples because those samples are usually sampled in C major. Or just a C note often, some sort of C chord, just because it's easy to work in samples if you sample in C. So it's very easy to work in C melodic minor because my sample will work in this key immediately. So keyboard fold's really cool, and it allows me to have 2 octaves of quantized notes. So already, if I want, we could just throw down a sequence. A fun way to do this too is, wait a second, let me get out of here, is to go into my record edit. Let's change the length of our patterns really quick, actually. This is something I'd usually do like immediately, and I've forgotten to do it so far. So if I go function plus page, I can go into my pattern scale, and I can change the length of my patterns. So I want it to be 4 bars, typically. We're actually gonna work in 8 bars. That's what we're gonna do in this project, is have this whole thing work in 8 bars. So we're gonna have to play with some scaling and talk about how do we get to 8 bars when we only have 64 steps, but there's a few ways to do it. I'm gonna hold function and hit yes and go into my per track scaling because I don't need everything to be the same scale. I want some things to be a shorter scale so that I can have some more interesting patterns happening that way. So I'm gonna change the master length to 128 steps, and for this one, we're gonna leave it at scale 1x, so it's going to be the same value as our tempo, so it's gonna move at 16th notes across the sequencer, but we are going to change the scale to 1/2 in one of our other tracks so that we can get our 8 bars. And all we have to do is make one track have 8 bars of audio, and it makes our whole song become an 8-bar song because it'll have that change in it. So that's really all you have to do if you want to go from 4 bars to 8 bars, is have something that has some changes across 8 bars, and that will accomplish that goal. So I'm gonna bring this track down to like 11 steps. Let's do some odd steps. And let's take advantage of some of our sequencer inputs. So as you saw earlier, we could do the live record, and I could be in my sequencer here and just go, let's go function yes first, save it to a temporary area so I can redo this as many times as I want. But I could just hit some random notes. Just... hopefully she'll relax. There's just not much I can do about that. Getting real barky. Okay, so that's one of the ways we can do an input. I'm gonna go function no, and we're gonna go back to our pattern state we were in before. And we're gonna use some other inputs to put patterns in as well. Let me check in with this chat really quick while the dog's having a barkathon. Oh, Cindy says, yeah, the Patchwerks showroom is open. They did just open the showroom. We managed to get a couple of our staff members into the shop, some brave soldiers going down there to help everybody get their synthesizers today. All right, let's get back into this input since the pooch seems to be chilling out now. So there's a couple different ways you can enter notes into the Digitakt. And one of them is step record, and then another one is step jump. Then we also have live record, and then we can just put notes in. So we could just put steps in here and just change these notes. And do it this way, and just maybe copy the note and paste it. Oh my gosh, hang on 1 second. All right, we're all trying our best with this crazy weather, right? All right, let's get back into this step input here. So that's not how I want to put my steps in right now. I am just going to go into step record standard. So what this does is when you have the keyboard up, I can select a step, press the function button, and it's going to bring up my quantized keyboard, and I can just put a note in. This is super useful and something that I use pretty often when I'm doing music productions, and this is something we're going to use quite a bit during this session today. So I am just going to start here on step 1, and we're just going to fill it up to step 11 because I believe that's the length. And we're just going to hit some random notes, and I'm sure they're going to sound good because it's quantized to a scale. That's the convenience of the keyboard scale. Let's just go, maybe we'll start with the root and play with some other notes here. Okay. So I'm going to shorten these because I feel like it's going to be a little overwhelming. Let me bring this reverb down a little bit and bring the volume down. And it's just a really cool way to get an interesting sequence going. We could have an LFO going to our filter frequency. Slow it down to the rate of the tempo. Yeah, we could use that. Let's use a trig condition and make this a little bit more animated. I go over to this hi-hat track, and I'm actually going to pan it a little bit to the right, or no, to the left, actually. Let's put some more hats down and kind of play with them. Let's play with their envelopes. Play with our retrig menu here. Maybe pan that one to the right a little bit. Like that. There we go. This is what I love about the Digitakt, is how quickly you just get up and go. We just have something that's kind of inviting us already to just play with some sound design. We get to mess with envelopes a lot, messing with retriggers, and we have 2 LFOs, 2 filters. Like, there's a lot we can do. There's a lot of sound shaping we can do. And then of course we have our synthesis. So I do want to add some sort of bass notes now that we have this like cool little melody playing and this like interesting drum beat. We are in 120 BPM. Maybe we slow it down. Let's see how it sounds. Okay, so now I'm gonna load up some of the sounds that I've made, and I'll audition them for you and talk a little bit about how I made the sounds too. So I'm gonna go over to track 3, which is right now a tom from our sound pack that we used, but I'm gonna go into my sound browser by pressing down this button, and here I can go in and replace this track with a sound, and I can audition them by function yes, which is really cool. Or I can go function, hit these 3 dots, and go into manage sounds, and we can load a bunch of sounds in. Yes, I have a Band-Aid on my finger. I was taking ice off my car and cut my finger on the ice, which is really cool. So I'm gonna go into filter, and I do have a tag on my sounds that should say mine. There it is. So these are all sounds that I've made. So this is my Vangelis pad sound. It is only 1 note, but it is synthesized on the Digitakt. I call this one the Devil's Laugh. Might be a little loud for you. Here's a techno kick I synthesized. Cricket. So that's synthesis on the Digitakt using 2 LFOs and 2 filters. Little snare I synthesized. A hat. Flimsy hat. Some sort of techno siren. Listen to that. Synthesized on the Digitakt. Formant bass. Another good one. That is using the 2 LFOs and the 2 filters again. And these are some stuff that I sampled, like my favorite kick from the Analog 4 I sampled into the Digitakt. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this Formant bass, and maybe we'll get the Vangelis pad. So now I've selected some sounds that I like. These are single cycle waveforms with some parameters assigned to them that I made months ago. And now I'm gonna copy them over to the sound pool. So now I'm able to change the sound on this track. Well, I can just change the sample by holding it down and turning this, and it will let me choose the Formant bass sound. Or I can press this and change the whole sound here. And once again, just do that search for mine and grab Formant bass. So here we are with Formant bass. Sounds alright. Maybe I don't want that sound for this. I'm not sure yet. Let's take a look at how I made it. So I have this tuned a little bit. We're using an acid square, which is one of the single cycle waveforms that the Digitakt comes stock with. I'm not playing with anything else. I just have it tuned down an octave by default. And the filter settings are as follows. So I have some interesting filter settings. This is using a high pass filter despite it being very bassy. But this envelope is actually moving the frequency cutoff down the filter spectrum, so it's going into the low end. And we're also using our bass width filter. This is our secondary filter. Both of these are being modulated at audio rate by both of our LFOs. So one of them is modulating the filter resonance, and I'm using an upward ramp, and this means that the LFO is resetting on the trigger. So every time I hit a new note, we get a brand new ramp moving at audio rate. This fade right here is an envelope on the depth of our LFO to the assigned parameter. So it's actually filtering out the actual modulation. And here at the rate here, this is a multiplier of your BPM. So this LFO is now an HFO, or high frequency oscillator, and it's modulating at 2,000 times the rate of our BPM. So very quickly. So it's really oscillating it would be a very high pitch if we were listening to it. And this second LFO here is modulating the filter bass, which is this parameter. So it's making this move at audio rate. So extremely fast. And well, I don't want to explain every parameter on this LFO menu, but these are the LFO settings for this sound. So if you wanted to recreate this sound, you'd be able to look at what I did on here in this stream and be able to recreate it yourself. Sounds really good, really low like that. Let's see. It's real bassy if I move the bass width down. Maybe I'll grab a simpler sound. Definitely not that one. We could use this Juno bass. So this is something that I sampled, but you know what? No, let's do something from scratch. So we're gonna clear this out, clear all these parameters. And I am going to, again, assign this to the oscillator that we picked, which was Amiga. No, let's use we could use the Sawtooth. This is a really easy one to work with and to get sounds that are very usable. Make sure this is oscillating. Reverse, forward, it's not really gonna matter. That's probably clipping. It sounds really loud to me. That overdrive right there. All right, I'm gonna go back over to this one. Give this one a little volume back. Turn this delay into a ping pong delay. Make it a little bit wider in the stereo field. Anything above 90 is gonna have like a feedback loop. It's just gonna go forever. So you don't want that necessarily. It's cool when you use the delay with an odd timed melodic sequence with something plucky because of how many steps it's using, it's resetting on an odd time. The notes start stacking on top of each other and generating kind of like this random chord pattern. You hear what I mean? Sounds pretty cool. We have this LFO mildly modulating the filter cutoff on that synthesizer voice, so it's kind of like it's building up on its own. We could sync it to the clock, but free running sounds pretty good. Okay, so I did say earlier that we're gonna work in 8 bars. So here's how we're gonna do the 8 bars. I'm gonna go function page, and we're actually gonna change the scale down to half, and we're gonna make this 64 steps, and we're gonna use the step record input, step jump record input, if I'm saying that right. And it's pretty cool and very useful. So what we could do first is I'm I'm gonna make this note retrigger because I want it to sound kind of like da 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 da, like I'm doing some finger plucking, like some Nintendo bass. I'm gonna go into the retrig menu here, turn that up, and we're gonna have this retrigger for 16 steps. I think we might actually have to do it for double the length of steps so that it goes across here, because this is moving at a half speed tempo for this track in terms of how the triggers are working. So you heard that went for 16 steps. That's not the sound that I want to use. It's not what we're going to use. I am going to get rid of these filter settings and these LFO settings and start like from scratch here and get like a nice plucky bass sound. Okay, so this is something I was doing I work with some students sometimes, and this is something I was doing with a student the other day, so I figured it was actually something pretty cool to cover on stream. And so we're gonna take this, I'm gonna copy it, and we're gonna place it here, and here, and here. And it's playing the same note all the way across the board, so we can easily just go into our step record menu here and just select that note and press this down and change the note. And this will change the note value. And that's it, it'll keep our retrigger the same. We can also go into step jump, which you press record and stop twice and it brings you into step jump. And now jump is going to select the next space for you based on your length parameters. So if I put a note in here, it's gonna jump down. Well, let me just demonstrate it for you really quick. So I'm gonna go over to this track and just demonstrate step jump. So I'm gonna make this trig length 1/8, or no, let's make it a little bit longer. We'll make it 1/4. So this is gonna move 4 steps every time I put a note in. See? So it's a really fast way to get stuff entered into a sequence. So let's go into our bass line here and do step jump. And we'll make this be 16th notes. Or no, we want it to be half notes. Let's see. So we'll go. I don't know, do we want that? Okay. We'll do that. And maybe we'll do it again here. Should we copy this and go like that? And go. Did we do that note before? Felt like we did. Copy that. Copy that, paste that. Missed one, retrigger. This one needs to be retriggered. We'll just copy that. I'm gonna redo those ads. I didn't like them, that's why I muted it. But this is a really fast way. Look at, we got like something very usable. And if I wasn't explaining it as I was going, I could have done this in just a couple minutes, like very, very quickly. Hats. Let's go like, but let's make these ones be a little bit lower. How would it sound like this? Put like some ghost notes in. Maybe this one should go here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Save that pattern. All right, so let me check in with the chat really quick. Fortunately, the dog has stopped barking. Yeah. Hope you're all staying safe. Thanks, Michael. Hello, everybody. Easy pup, yeah. Cool, I'm glad everybody's hanging out and having a good time. I appreciate everybody chilling here. It's really great for me. All right, what else should we do to this track? Because it definitely needs some more sounds to it. We did load some more sounds into our samples, and we already played some on these tracks. Around the stereo field. Well, this one go real far. Copy this one. We'll have it go in reverse, maybe. It doesn't really do. You can't really hear much. Kinda can. Maybe we'll give it some delay or something. Yeah, I like that with the reverb. So we could try and animate this bass synth a little bit. Play with some audio rate, maybe. Let's play with the filter bass, perhaps. As you can see, when I modulate it with a negative value, it inverts the phase of our LFO shape, which is really cool that it shows you that. Little educational tool. Oh, we did the filter release time? No wonder I can't hear anything. I love how easy it is to get something really good going here. We could play with Control Alt too. Let's see what happens when we do some Control Alt steps. We'll do Function Yes to save it to a temporary area. So the whole project is now down 1 octave. We can go really far. Here we are up an octave. So this is up an octave and applied delay to every single track. And then I brought the time down super duper low, and now it's created this kind of chorusing, car plus strong kind of effect. Which could be really cool. We could, resample it if we wanted, but it would sum it to mono, so we'd lose all that stereo field. I'm giving the delay reverb send here. Look at the cool sounds you get from it. So you don't want to go above 90. So I reloaded the patterns. This is a good little performance trick that you can do. If your pattern's feeling a little stale, save it and start doing some Control Alt stuff, and there's some good things you can do, like repitching it up an octave will almost always sound pretty decent because it keeps it in time. By going up an octave, it's still gonna have the same tempo feel to it. The notes are going to be cut in half in terms of their length, but going to be an octave higher, but they'll still work in your pattern. So that's a good spot to go to. And then you can go into your effects master settings and mess with those, and when you reload it, it will reload your master settings on your effects as well. So you'll go back to right where we were. So let me show you how quickly we can do what we just did. We can go. Go into my amp settings. Master delay. Some reverb. We can play with our envelopes too if we want to make it really kind of like this minimal techno thing. Could do a nice build up this way. Filtering everything down. Function no, back into it. Pretty cool. You can do quite a bit on the Digitakt just by itself in terms of performance. I mean, you do have to get fast with it. You have to know the menus really well, but it's totally possible. There's so many different little tips and tricks you can do to make all sorts of unique sounds. So I do want to go back and load up one of these. Let's load up one of the sounds that I had. Use this Vangelis. All right, let's make it this part also 8 bars long, and we'll just kind of mess with it. So we'll go 64. I'm holding function, turning the encoder. It moves it in steps of 16 when you're in this menu. and bringing this down to half scale. And then we're gonna live record it in, function yes, to save it to a temporary area so we can do this over and over again and not lose our space or lose our spot. There's also a bunch of different pattern saves you can do. You can save and name the patterns and then assign them to your project. And you can reload the whole pattern from there, no matter what you've done. Even if you've done function yes, function no several times over, you can still reload it from there. Of course, you can also save it to the project and reload the entire project. And it will kind of have the same effect, but reloading it from the pattern save state is super effective to not having to reload the entire project. You can just work on per pattern. It's a good thing to do to save your patterns, rename them, and when you're performing a show, you can just go in, you can practice on your Digitakt and practice doing all your stuff that you're gonna do during the performance, and your settings will all be changed, and you can go into the pattern reload page here. And you can just reload your whole pattern right from your project, and it's just really fast and easy. I do recommend you do that. All right, so let's bring this nice Vangelis sound here. I like that one. So I do want to do it again, so function no. Have this be a different. Have that Plux on. Add some fill conditions. Copy that, paste it, paste. We could go in and compress this if we wanted. Sidechain filter, it's really over compressed. Some real subtle compression. You can do parallel compression. Those Plux, there's a little too much bass going on with them. I'm gonna remove the bass. Kind of open up the mix a little bit. now I'm just having a good time. Actually, I wanted to go. Here we go. Can perform with it. I do have an Octatrack on the table that we could be playing with as well. So yeah, I hope that I've shown you how capable the Elektron Digitakt is, and some of the techniques you can use to enter notes and come up with sequences really quickly. There's so much to cover on the Digitakt, and they keep updating it. Thank you, Elektron, for doing that, because I want to see this continue to get updates for years and years and years. I don't need a Mark II Digitakt, I just need more of the Digitakt right now. So, very excited, very happy about the Digitakt. It continues to be my favorite sampler that I have for actually, writing music and just getting ideas out of my head into an instrument, into the instrument. It just totally kicks butt. So, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this demo. I'm Matthew from Patchwerks, and we'll be doing this again next Friday at 3 o'clock from the Patchwerks studio instead of my personal home studio. As far as events go, next month we'll be doing another showroom sessions, and there is a show happening this month on the 27th, one of the Mod Bang shows. I'm performing there along with EZBOT and Hauser. So come on down to the Icebox Arcade in Fremont at 7 o'clock, and bring a jacket, because it can be outdoors sometimes, but it's going to be a good time. There's going to be some great music, and I hope to see you there. So, I'll see you all next time. Have a great weekend, stay warm, and stay off the road until this crazy ice goes away if you're